Welcome back to Crash Command Games. Thanks for coming to check out the channel one more time. This is going to be an expansion onto the series called Entering the Armory.
Enter the Armory.
And that is going to be a deck build guide based on the Armory decks for the classic constructed format that have been releasing from Flesh and Blood's Legend Story Studios. I have already done a few of them, and I've given a reason as to why with one video entitled Concerning New Players and Hobbits, probably. And that is because I've seen far too many of these videos, far too many of these threads across Reddit, Discord, whatever the hell I'm on at the time, that say this game is unattainable. You cannot play this game, and it's too expensive. There's no way into this game. I am here to completely refute that. I did not start this game. I did not go to my first calling with a powerhouse deck. I did not go to any of my preceding pro quests with powerhouse decks. I started a little different than everyone else. I'm very deck building oriented, so I spent some time in some spreadsheets and did my thing. That's not for everybody. So this is here to kind of help you jump into the game a little bit easier. This time, we're going to be talking about Ser Boltyn, Breaker of Dawn. This is one of the Armory decks available to you. Unfortunately, unlike the other two videos, I've already opened this one. Let's go ahead and pull this up. I've already opened this one. I've already sleeved this one. I've already played this one. But that was before I even had the intention of doing these videos. It was not until I saw one specific video that I'm not going to say they were trying to be facetious or disingenuous or anything like that, but it's just it didn't strike right with me, and I wanted to, instead of scare people away from this community, show people how they can get into this game. And that is through, I believe, what has inspired me enough to do these videos are the Armory decks. Now, in previous videos, we've talked about how I have had my $1,000 chain deck. It's not mine, it's my wife's, I guess. And I've given it to some friends, and I've beat them. I've straight up beat them with the Azalea deck and the KO deck. That's just pre-con. I haven't modded these decks at all. As you'll see, this is a sleeved up deck that I've just played for fun sometimes. This also beat a fully built Boltyn deck from a fairly competent player as well. That deck was fully built, lots of money invested into it, but they hadn't invested a lot of time. I have invested a lot of time in learning how to play, but not a lot into the deck. And that's something that I think is critical to get across to Flesh and Blood players. There are cards that will help you along very well. But as anybody who's been around me in my specific community for long enough knows, I call them crutches. They very much so can help ease you into a deck, but a very well-tuned to the individual, very well-practiced deck into enough matchups deck will just outshine. So, much like the others, normally this is when I would be opening the deck for you, okay? But I don't have the deck box anymore, but I will go through it much like I did previously. I do believe I ordered this. Okay, I do believe I did order this. And we are just going to start as if we were opening this from the beginning. So, first off, we have the Flesh and Blood QR code. My nerdy ass decided to sleeve the whole deck because I just wanted to preserve this experience and say, hey, this was worth me having. I appreciate this product. Thank you very much, Flesh and Blood. So I'm going to do something real quick and just kind of show you a little bit here. So this brings up the Armory deck Boltyn page. Okay. You can definitely scroll through here. It talks about how a valiant defender of Solana, Boltyn charges into battle with bravery of heart and light of his soul. It's going to go over a few of his cards. You know, it has a little learn how to play against the Armory deck battle. You know, it's going to have some of that information there. Very user-friendly. Like I said, I wish there was a learn to play guide in this. I realize that's a little bit extra money LSS, but it is a good idea because as stated in a previous video, I did not grow up from any kind of means. I'm from a trailer park, and sometimes not everybody has access to those tools, okay? So, that being said, I know some people say, well, this is a luxury card game. It's not for everybody. Get the hell out of here with that. Look, I'm trying to get people in the community, okay? So, we're going to put this up here. Next up is your hero, Ser Boltyn, Breaker of Dawn. Now, this was a hero that I was very interested in. Like I said in many of my previous videos, I started during Monarch. I started during the Monarch pre-release. That was the first official play that I had in this game, and I almost went Raiden first, but my brain makes me say, go through the steps, okay? Go through the steps, and just learn the game the way it's supposed to be learned. So I looked back and into the game and decided, for me, Dorinthia is going to be the path. But the reason I'm bringing that up is I have a lot of experience with warriors. I love playing warriors. So I'm going to have a little bit of insight on how this should go and how this should look. All right. So we're going to get back to this. I didn't like this hero at first because he's kind of complicated. So this says, if you've charged this turn, your attacks get +1 while defended by an attack action card. Okay, that's pretty, that's a lot of maintenance for new players. Okay, that's asking a new player to track a lot, the card types, whether or not they've charged, whether or not to apply this, right? Obviously, this is a static effect and it's always applied. It's not a may, but that is definitely an ability. So I don't like it. Out of the 3 beginner armory decks, I like this one the least because it makes you track a lot more as time goes on. But at the same time, this has one of the higher skill ceilings and probably some of the more rewarding play patterns that you'll receive throughout the classic constructed decks. If at this moment in time, I was supposed to rate the difficulty of the decks, it would be KO's the easiest, Azalea's the second, and Boltyn's the hardest, obviously. But then the card even continues on with an attack reaction. So innately, this hero has an attack reaction you can just use whenever you are in your reaction step. And it says, banish a card from Boltyn's soul. Target attack with power greater than its base power gains go again. Again, another kind of complicated ability. So this is going to be for the players who really want to dive in under the complicated facets of this game. First off, it's an attack reaction, something a lot of the newer players aren't going to be super familiar with. Next off, it requires you to have cards in your soul, a zone that's not explicitly explained. But it is just basically, you can just tuck it under your hero's portrait. You could tuck it onto the right-hand side of Boltyn. If you're not using 2 hands, you know, just anywhere you can really represent your soul, you can have it. Okay. After that, if your attack has power greater than its base power, it gains go again. Now, that some people may have questions about that, but to read the anatomy of a card, we'll just say Raiden because that's the best example, right? Okay. So we'll use Raiden to understand Boltyn's ability better. So Raiden says, once per turn, 0 cost attack. If you've charged this turn, this gets +3 power. And you'll note this has 0 power. Well, 3 would be more than the 0 annotated on the card. It would be eligible to gain go again from Ser Boltyn, Breaker of Dawn. So that's a mouthful. That is Ser Boltyn, Breaker of Dawn. In a nutshell, if you charged, your attacks can get stronger if they're blocked by attacks. And if you have an attack with more power than its base power, you can banish a card from your soul to give it go again. What does that tell us as a Boltyn player? That means we are very likely going to be trying to interact. We're going to be wanting to interact with our soul, which means putting cards into it so we can banish them to get the go again. Okay. So that's telling us as a new player, this deck requires a little bit of setup. Okay. It's not going to be balls to the wall. It's not going to be KO, just throw in every single attack we can. This is going to be a setup deck where you have to kind of take your time and really position yourself in the battle like a warrior should. Okay. We've already gone over Raiden. Very simple weapon, to be honest with you. It costs 0 to attack with. It's an action once per turn. And then if you've charged, it gets +3. Other than that, it has 0 base power. Next up is his equipment. All new stuff for this deck. There's the Helm of Hero's Grace. This has Blade Break. That means it's only usable the one time if you block with it. It has 2 armor. That's very good. And it says, when this defends, you may charge your soul. So you can put cards into your soul, and because it says the word charge, anything that looks for the word have you charged will also trigger. And then if a yellow card is charged, you draw a card. Again, Boltyn has a lot going on, and he did back in the day too. It's a lot to keep track of. It's when this defends, you can charge. You've satisfied charging. It goes to your hero's soul, and if it's a yellow card, you draw a card. Okay. Lot to track. Be sure to be very aware. Get your practice in. Solar Plexus, a chest piece that confusingly doesn't block at all. Instant, destroy this. Banish a card from your soul. Yellow cards you cost yellow cards cost you 1 less resource to play this turn. Much like the Savage Sash, much like the Hidden Agenda, this is a resource-based chess piece. It seems to be the whole purpose of that. It's also a light equipment. It's not a light warrior equipment, so this is usable by any hero that's light. That's something to note for the future. Next up are the Bracers of Bellana's Grace. When this defends, you may charge your hero's soul. If a yellow card is charged this way, create a courage token. We'll go over the courage token when we get to the tokens. But just keep in mind it's another blade break piece. It can be used 1 time to block 2 damage. And then you may charge and create a courage token. Warpath of Winged Grace. When this defends, you may charge your hero's soul. If a yellow card is charged this way, create a quicken token. Now, when I say that it was fairly complicated, it kind of was, kind of isn't. Obviously, you just read the card and it tells you exactly what to do. And here's what those do. The Courage token says when you play an attack action card or activate a weapon attack, destroy this and give that +1. So that's awesome because it enables the attack reaction from Boltyn. Okay, it gives it gives your next attack, whatever you attack with the Courage token, +1 power, and it can then be reacted to give go again. And then obviously just the Quicken token. It's an old classic from Welcome to Wraith. When you play an attack action card or activate a weapon attack, destroy this, and that attack gains go again. I love that a lot because you don't have to remove anything from your soul. There's no reliance on using a resource. It's just there and it just happens. Okay. So your headpiece draws you a card. Your chess piece makes stuff cheaper. Your bracers give you power, and your boots give you quicken. We're not going to go super in depth into these cards because I'm kind of running long from how I was trying to explain that this is probably going to be one of the more difficult decks, but at the same time, one of the more rewarding decks once you really start to see your combos. So I have put this back in order. I have unshuffled it. We're going to start with Beaming Bravado. Okay, we're just going to leave that there while I read this. It's as an additional cost, you may charge a hero's soul. That's going to be a common thing amongst most light warrior, light cards, light things, right? They interact with your soul a lot. So this one says you may charge, and if a yellow card is charged, it gets +1. So it automatically makes itself eligible for Boltyn's attack reaction. It charges your soul, which gives the pump ability turning on. And then it's a 0 for 3 with 3 block. Just an average solid card, not too bad. This card I find to be quite nasty on certain turns. It's called Bolt of Courage. Comes with 3 of these. It says an additional cost, you may charge. Okay, you have to decide that when you attack. So basically your order is going to go like this. I declare an attack with Bolt of Courage. I'm going to pay the 0 cost and pay the additional cost. You then would charge your soul. And then this becomes an attack. Just remember that charging is an additional cost and all costs are paid at the same time. If you've charged this turn, this gets, when this hits, draw a card. Obviously, this is pretty lethal because you can typically give this go again with many a different trick. Courage tokens, pluses, Ser Boltyn's ability itself, whatever. But if this hits, it draws you a card. So it's basically like a little tiny snatch.
No, it wasn't. No, it was not, dude. I did not find that funny. I have a line with that kind of stuff. I don't find that stuff funny. No.
Engulfing Light. Pretty standard card, but very important because it says, as an additional cost, you may charge. It's a 0 for 3 that blocks for 3. That's red. And it says, if you've charged this turn, when this hits, put it into your hero's soul. So this could be responsible for charging your soul twice, or at least pumping up your soul by 2 cards on its own. And this comes with 3 of them. Next up, you have Express Lightning. Very standard card. Differently, it's a 0 for 4 that blocks for 3, is red. And says, as an additional cost, you may charge this. So it doesn't go to your soul or anything, but it comes with an extra damage, good for breakpoints, good chain ender, things like that. Comes with 3 of these. You have a card called Light the Way. As an additional cost, you may charge. When this hits, if a yellow card was charged, this gets go again. I don't like this card. I'm just going to be straight up. It's threatening a go again, unless this is like attack number 2 or 3, threatening a continuation of an already irritating chain. This is pretty hard to present damage with. As a Boltyn player, you may start to learn that the rudest thing an opponent can do is just not block. That can happen. This then comes with 3 snatches, which I applaud LSS for. They're just rares. Just throw them in the deck. They're fine. 0 for 4, blocks 2, on hit, draw a card. If you've charged, it still benefits from Ser Boltyn's ability. If it has a Courage token, it still benefits, etc. There's ways to give it Quicken. This is just a powerhouse in Boltyn's deck at widening a chain. Take Flight, a very standard good card. 1 cost, 4 attack, 3 defense. You may charge as a cost. And then if you've charged, it gets Go Again. So it's a card with natural Go Again. You don't need to do anything. If they block or block incorrectly, they're taking more damage. I love it. I know some people are going to be huge fans of this card in some cases. Courageous Steel Hand. It's if you've charged, target attack gets +3. Now, it is versatile because it says target attack. It doesn't have to be a warrior card or anything. And that is important. But you still have to have charged, so it takes quite a lot of resources to turn on for a 0 for 3. And it only blocks for 2. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that card. That may be a card we would probably look to replace. As time has gone on, I have become more a fan of this card. It seems underwhelming at first glance. It's a reaction. It blocks for 3, though. It costs 1, and it says target light warrior attack gets +3. That is super limiting. It's only light warrior attacks that are going to benefit from this, but most of this deck is light warrior attacks, and even your sword is a light warrior attack, okay? So keep that in mind with Resounding Courage, but also if you've charged, you create a courage token. So this could be 1 for 4 on top of an attack already punching through. That card has grown on me quite a bit. Standard Sink Belows, you know, these are great. Oddly enough, I've noticed that some of the precons and stuff come with a special marked Sink Below with a cool little sigil. That's missing on these ones. But it's a standard defense reaction. That means after your opponent attack reacts or chooses not to, you can defend for 4. 0 for 4, and then you can filter your hand for something you may or may not need. So that's a lot of red cards. As you can see, this deck is kind of going to be resource hungry, but it's weird because you want a lot of yellow cards in your deck. Because a lot of the cards, if you haven't noticed, refer to yellow cards, including your equipment here. So let's go ahead and look at those. You have Banneret of Vigor, which is very good. It has an ability that's new to Dusk Till Dawn called Soul Flare. Okay. That means if this was charged to your hero soul, the next time you would hit, you gain a resource. Now, that's not the Soul Flare ability. That's just this card's ability. Soul Flare's ability is basically, if this is charged to your hero's soul, do X, right? This one's actually particularly good because, like I said, this deck is pretty resource hungry, having a lot of reds in it. So if you charge this, you're threatening to generate a resource every time you hit. And it just says the next time you hit. It doesn't have to be the next attack. It's just the next time you hit. Next up is Banneret of Resilience. I have found this hard to use correctly. Now this one says Soul Flare. When this is charged to your hero's soul, the next action card you defend with gets +1. That could be very good on the defense with some of these equipment that help you charge, because these do that. They block for 3 on their own, though, and they're a yellow pitch. And then you're banking on your opponent going kind of wide, and it doesn't help you against tall decks. These are okay, but very replaceable. Next up, you have that Beaming Bravado yellow. This is the one that gets +1 power if a yellow card is charged. Right, so that's just decent. Battlefield Blitz is if you've charged this turn, this gets Go Again. Kind of hard to do because it costs 1 and it's only 1 for 4 Go Again, but it blocks for 3 and it's yellow pitch, so very, very standard staple card. Yellow Bolt of Courages. That's the one that draws you a card if you've charged. Yellow Take Flights. That's the natural Go Again with charging. And then you come up to one of the most important cards in the Boltyn deck. This is called V of the Vanguard, okay? Now, this is a Boltyn specialization. It is a yellow pitch card with 1 cost, 3 block, 3 attack that says, as an additional cost to play this, you may charge your hero's soul any number of times. So that means you can put any number of cards from your hand into your hero's soul. Now, the problem with that is obviously the more cards you put in your soul, the less cards you have in your hand for the attack. It's a delicate balance, right? You just have to get good at knowing what is going to work for you with what cards and what your actual plan of attack is. This is a precision card for sure. It's not a brute force card. It's not a power spike card that just says play this. You have to plan around this card, okay? It also says your attacks this combat chain get +1 for each light card charged this way. So for every light card you charge, all of your attacks on this chain get +1, okay? That means you cannot break the chain. No activating anything other than attacks. No playing anything other than attacks and instants. Nothing like that. You have to keep this on the chain for that bonus to happen. But once you do, you'll notice it gives all attacks that +1 regardless of whether or not they're defended. And Boltyn only cares about having more base power. So it gives all of your attacks go again on a really well set up turn. Very, very strong. Next up, you have Valiant Thrust. If you've charged this turn, this gets +3. It's yellow, 1 cost, 3 attack, 3 defense. Could potentially be a 1 for 6 after a charge. Very strong card. And then you have this newer card called Saving Grace. All right. It comes with 2 non-foil, 1 foil in the deck specifically. And it's a Light Warrior defense reaction that uniquely, like the equipment says, as an additional cost, you may charge this. So again, there's an instance of you defending and charging. Okay. And it says, if you've charged this turn, target attack gets -2, which could rudely turn off go again for certain things, could just stop on hits. It defends for 3. It's a very good card. So very good include in the deck for setup turns. And then comes probably the single most important card for Boltyn. Okay. It's the Lumina Ascension. This is another Boltyn specialization that is a yellow pitch, 0 cost, 3 block, Light Warrior action. This one says, until the end of turn, weapons you control get +1. And when this hits, reveal the top card of your deck. Okay. So +1 power, already great. Okay. And then when it hits, it has an on hit that says, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a light card, put it into your hero's soul and gain a life. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of your deck. So what that just said was every time that weapon hits, reveal the top. If it's another light card, it goes into your hero's soul, and then you gain a life. So that's charging Boltyn's soul to reuse Go Again on multiple hits. And the most important part comes here. It says, if you've charged this turn, you may attack an additional time with each weapon you control. Now, many people used to do this with the sabers, the Centauri sabers. It's an older weapon. You can still do that. I don't know if it's the favored style of Boltyn play today. But what that says is if I've charged, I attack with Raiden Duskbane for 3 plus 1. And then I can give it Go Again. And then do it again for another 4. That's a ridiculous amount of value. It's very hard to evaluate the Light Warrior's value because the soul is nebulous, to say the least. So that's the whole deck for Boltyn Breaker of Dawn. Okay, that is a 60 card deck plus your equipment and your hero. Comes with irrelevant tokens as well. Now, I don't know how immediately strong this deck is. I did beat another Boltyn. I did not beat the chain deck that I was playing with this. That was fairly difficult. Now I could race. I got close each time. It was like within 3 life points, but I couldn't close out the game. Well, how do we do that? How do we close out the game? Much like the other ones, this is going to kind of sound like a broken record here, but we're going to look at TCG Player and we're going to look at little upgrades that we can do to help us on our path. We're on TCG Player. As we do, and we're just going to take a quick peek at some Boltyn upgrades. Much like the others, we're gonna keep track of kind of how much you can expect to spend. I might average it because the other one had kind of like a long text box. We'll see how I feel when I'm editing this video. Recording it, I have all the lofty goals in the world, but we'll see how we feel after, okay? So, I do not main Boltyn. I would like to say I could help every Boltyn player no matter what, but the truth is, I'm just doing my best here, okay? I'm gonna first put my suggestions forward, and then after that, maybe we'll talk about what the pros do or what the last good Boltyn deck did. I don't know if how many there are. I don't remember seeing a lot of them. Again, he's a hard hero to play, but he does fit in the meta quite well. For example, he's like an auto win against Prism. Okay, and I mean that he should beat Prism 90% of the time almost, I feel like. I have had the opposite experience, but circumstances are different everywhere. So enough stalling. I've done enough thinking. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I think you should add to Ser Boltyn Breaker of Dawn. That helmet is very good, but I don't like those gloves. The one that give you the courage token for charging your soul. I don't like that. So we're going to take a look at this equipment. We're going to, oh my God, this is going to be awesome for you Boltyn players. You're going to get set up pretty well. This is a temper piece, which means you can block more than once with it. And it has 2 block, which means overall it will be able to block 3 total. But you will lose it if you block the second time. This says your next sword attack this turn gets when this hits a hero, create a courage token. I believe this is just the better version of these courage token. What am I trying to say here? Oh yeah, gauntlets, right? Arm pieces. So we're just gonna add that right off the bat. I don't even care. Sure, that's fine. Next up, I don't like the boots. I don't like that you have to charge a card. We can just get you. You will be able to pick these up for free, probably. Okay. But I am just going off of the assumption you have to buy all your cards. Okay, so we're just going to look for the cheapest one, 15 cents. These are a fantastic armor piece. You can't block with them, but they have automatic go again on them with just an attack reaction. No other costs than destroying them. So we are just going to go ahead and get the Snapdragons. Okay. Just whatever. I know I have some of these. Make sure to check out Crash Command Games on eBay and see if I have any of the cards recommended here or any cards you might be looking for on eBay. Thank you so much for checking that out, as well as my Patreon. Okay, so next up, you already have Raiden. I believe Raiden is the most optimal build right now. I like the chest piece Solar Plexus. And I don't know if there's any other chest pieces I would say you need. There's the one that everybody thinks you're going to need, but I actually don't think that's the case. Let's check out what this chest piece does real quick together. When this defends, you may charge your hero's soul the first time you would be dealt damage each turn. If you've charged, prevent one of that damage with Temper 2. That is quite good for the defensive, but doesn't do anything for our resources. That said, I think it's more important to have this armor. This would be a fine upgrade choice as well. So looking at the deck, I noticed that we already have all of our Via the Vanguards we need. I noticed we already have all the Lumina Ascensions we need. Now let's take a peek at, you already have the Snatches. I would just say you want like 3 of these guys. Just unlimited edition normal will work just fine. You don't need anything fancy. Because I know this has the red and the yellow versions, but blue is also a very important pitch color to have. I would also say if you wanted to get frisky, personally, I might think about yellow Snatches, but I don't know for sure. Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm blanking really. Oh, I know what you need. We're just going to look up the Bannerets because these are all very good. These kind of went up in price a little bit, but I know why. So we're just going to look for specifically from the Dusk Till Dawn set because we don't care about the promos or anything like that. We already have the Bannerets of Resilience. We already have... I don't think we have the Banneret of Salvation, actually. I don't think we care about that. One life. Ugh. I don't like that too much. Banneret of Protection. What is this one? Create a Spellbane Aegis. No. These two for sure, though. I know these ones for sure. The Banneret of Courage is just sick. When this is charged to your soul, create a Courage token. You don't need to hit or anything. It just does it. And it's a 1-for-4 otherwise. Plus, look at that fucking amazing art. That is some of the most challenging shit I've ever seen in my life. X gonna give it to you right there. Jesus Christ. So we're just gonna find 3 of these at a decent price. 750 with 8, so that's 850. 8. Okay, so we're just gonna pick up 3 from random vendors and pay a little bit more shipping because that is $9, and then if we want to get all 3 together, it's 10 plus each. So that's just we're just gonna keep it cheap. Okay. Next up, we're looking at the Banneret of Gallantry. When this is charged to your hero soul, create a Quicken token. Same shit. As long as you're just creating it and you don't need to hit, it's just amazing. Wow, these are a little more expensive, I think. Okay, yeah, I mean, Quicken tokens are very hardcore. Since these are all shipping included, we just go with the first. I guess you could go 2 here and get rid of the other one so you have a few less packages, right? Then you have 3 Bannerets of Gallantry, okay? So that's all the Bannerets. I really don't think you need much more than this to kind of get started in your Boltyn journey. Because I was kind of struggling thinking of things to add. The deck is pretty complete. And then as far as cards that you could look at to maybe get rid of this for these cards, let's go ahead and come back down to this view and take a look at how many we have. We have 12 cards. I don't like this Banneret very much. I don't know if you need the Sink Belows. I know I don't like the Courageous Steel Hand, wherever that is. It's one of the red cards. Okay, I don't like these as much as the Resounding Courages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I do not like Light the Way. I'm not going to lie to you at all. Okay. So you cut down some of the red package and a little bit of the yellow, but then you come back. Okay. Now that's back. So we got rid of 6 reds and 3 yellows and replaced it basically with what? 9 yellows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then split up more. Sorry. But yeah, so you're replacing 9 cards with 9 cards. You're adding some blues. You're adding nothing but yellows, and you're getting rid of some reds. Now, I personally think that's great. That ups your resource curve and availability, lets you pay for things a bit better, and then gives you more yellow cards to charge, as well as the yellow cards having a better effect, like the Banneret of Courage, the Banneret of Gallantries, and it just. I just think this is the way you should go, okay? Not much of a change to your deck, but as I've said, this deck is fairly complete for the most part, okay? Now, this is probably not a bad price, right? You're spending $95 on cards, $5 on shipping, $100 total. You're in $140 because at my specific location and at most LGSs, you should be paying $39.90 or somewhere abouts within the 10% range of that price. Buy this deck if you want to try out Boltyn. See if you can handle what the requirements of the Light Warrior class are. Get used to the mechanics, learn them. If they don't vibe with you, move on. If they do vibe with you and you are liking some of the tricks you can pull with this, and you do like the warrior play, that's your first $100 upgrade, and you've just shot your power through the roof, okay? I really don't think you need much more than this for this deck to be super successful. But let's say, just like the other decks, this is going to be a shorter video because Boltyn is a very, very simple to put together deck, hard to learn and master deck. Okay. Just like the blade we study, it takes time to become a master.
Whilst you were out partying, I studied the blade.
So, now that we're at the $100 price point, that's 3 months into the game. That's you bought this, you played it for a month or two, and over time you've bought some collection. You can trade for some of these cards. Maybe you've opened some of them because you're buying Dusk Till Dawn, trying to open up, because all of these are from Dusk Till Dawn except for the Snapdragon Scalers, and those should basically be free from any player around you. Okay. These are not overall in the grand scheme of things super expensive, but they are expensive. $10 for lightly played. What the hell? Do we have any no? Okay, yeah, $10 isn't too bad. We'll just say that's okay because, like I said, we're players, not collectors in this specific scenario, and we just want to get the cards to play. So we'll just pick up 3 Celestial Cataclysms. These say, as an additional cost to play Celestial Cataclysm, banish 3 cards from your soul. Go again for 7 attack, 3 defense, 0 cost. Can be good to put into your deck as poppers against certain illusionists. Also is just a very powerful card anyway. Man, I'm kind of struggling to find out, I thought about Weakest Link, but I don't think it's guaranteed required. I think we're going to go this route because these are pretty cheap and they're from Monarch. They're not a Boltyn specialization. They're a Light Warrior attack reaction. It says, as an additional cost to play Beacon of Victory, banish X cards from your hero's soul. X can't be 0. Target attack gains X power. If you've charged, search your deck for an action card with X or less, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. Okay. A lot of text on this card. Very good. Mostly usable. This kind of replaces those Courageous Steel Hands, or maybe those, what are those called? Those red ones. Maybe even replaces Sink Belows, because it's not a very, I don't know, Resounding Charge. This could replace Resounding Charge pretty easily. So let's just go ahead and come down here and pick up 3 of these guys. That's $5, slightly played. That's totally fine. It's another legendary card, but all of Boltyn's legendaries for some reason are less than $20. It's very good. This is a legendary product, Light Warrior action item. It's for some reason not specific to Boltyn. Not sure why. It's his wife's spirit. If Spirit of Irina would be put into your soul, instead put it into the arena. Very good with the Illumina Ascension and things like that. You may play Illumina Ascension as though it were an instant, which again is just crazy because it's an action item, which means you can go fetch it with the Beacon of Victories. It's just amazing. It turns your Illumina Ascension into an instant. I can't describe it. You're just going to have to experience it. So these come in rainbow foil or cold foil, I think, and we're just going to get the rainbow foil versions for like $19 each. Oh, you don't even, you only need the one of them. That's even better. You only need the one of them. So let's go ahead and take those out. Go to 1. Okay, go to 1. And then after that, I think we're going to look at One more yellow card that came out, and I think in heavy hitters, it's very good. This card. Okay, so it's yellow, 0 attack, 2 attack, 3 block. When this attacks, it gets plus X, where X is the number of defending cards in the combat chain. So on a very wide chain, many people will defend with a lot of cards because that's what you do against a Via the Vanguard turn. And Tenacity can push through a gross amount of damage, and it's a generic card that's available to you, Boltyn, and everyone else. So we're just gonna pick up 3 of the near mint ones for $1.20 more. If you really want to, because we're at $300 and for 6 months of play, that is not a lot of money. This is going to be the first deck that I recommend this card. And this is end game, end game, end game. Okay? This is end game. I did it, okay? I did it. This is both going to be the most expensive build deck and one of the only times I'm going to recommend Command and Conquer for a pre-con like this, for an upgrade path.
What do you think?
Whoa, very nice.
It's very cool, Bateman.
I know that I do say in the other 2 videos, you just do not need Command and Conquer, and that is 100% true. The other 2 decks do a lot of setup and a lot of on hits on their own, whereas Boltyn just kind of pushes a lot of damage. And this on hit will, in the end stages, help you save time and space for your board. It will put pressure on your opponent while you get your Spirit of Irina and get your combo pieces and get ready for the Via the Vanguard turn. It serves a purpose in this deck. Okay? It serves a purpose in this deck. And what we're really looking at here is in a more expensive deck at $480 spent after the Command and Conquers have been added. Because again, this is one of the times I will suggest buying them. But I did tell you this is kind of like an upgrade path deck. Those will be the last cards you buy for this deck if you choose to. Okay? The total of those cards is $268.62. That is a lot of money. But look at it in the context of at 6 months is when I recommend this purchase. You have been playing Boltyn for 6 months. This is if you have been playing this hero and you know this is your hero. This is a hero you want to take and play as long as you can. Light Warrior is your jam, and that's just the end of the story. Command and Conquer and Boltyn can turn into a 7 attack arsenal destroying monster. This is one of the decks where it makes sense to buy this card, okay? Not every deck needs it. Boltyn doesn't need it. That's why it's the very last pickup if you choose to. I am going to say this again because I just need to drill this into people and players who go, oh, that's so much money, because you're very impatient, and I get that. I was too when I started this journey. But much like anything else in life, anything worth it is worth saving up. And in this scenario, 6 months. Okay? You can trade and buy for most of these cards. You know, with all the packs you get, you might get lucky. Just stick to Dusk Till Dawn and you'll get most of these cards possibly for free, except for Tenacity, and those are only a couple bucks each, right? So week in, week out, you're buying some cards here and there from Dusk Till Dawn, trying to hit your Gallantries, trying to hit this Spirit of Irenas from Dynasty. You know, you're going to work your way, and through your weekly habit, develop your Boltyn deck, okay? And it will just get better and better as time goes on. And then, over 6 months, okay, $268.62, divide that by 6, that is $45 a month you have to put aside. Stuff it into a deck box. Every chance you get a couple $45, stuff it into your deck box. And at the 6 month mark, you'll be staring at about $270 in a deck box. And you'll say, are the Command and Conquers worth it? Is Boltyn my hero? Is this what I'm going to be doing? Because if not, that can damn near buy one of either the KO or the Azalea decks and everything else, and you can expand your collection, trade off some of this Boltyn stuff, and figure out a way to get back in the game, okay? But if you get there and you're at your 6 month point, you have your $270 set aside, you're getting yourself some Command and Conquers, okay? So, it just kind of... I just have to put all that into context because I know what's going to happen is someone's going to look at this video and be like, see, he said there's Command and... You got to have Command and Conquers. In Boltyn, they make sense. Look at the other 2 videos. and I want to put an end cap video on all of this once we're done with these. There is another Armory deck announced, and I will do that then. It is Armory Deck Dash, and I'm very excited to talk about that. But I'm going to make another video after this showing off my honor roll, all of the hero decks that I still have built. And I think you'll see something very common amongst them. Guys, thank you so much for checking this out. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment if you like this video, if you like videos like this. I just need you to watch every one of this series and see if one of these heroes catches your eye. You follow this build path. Obviously prices change with the market, but you follow this kind of a build path. You set your expectations and your timeline from, I don't have to spend $600 up front. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 40 here. I'm going to spend 40 here next week. I'm going to spend 20 here next week. You know, just like every other hobby, you know, it's, don't kid ourselves. We're gamers. Okay. Serious talking to the camera time. We're gamers. Okay. I know we buy skins on stupid video games. I know we buy stupid stuff on all this shit we don't need. Buy something physical that you can tangibly hold, that you can play with your friends in person and get the hell out of the house. Yeah, you know what I mean? I know you all, this is not a financial advice channel. This is nothing like that. I'm just saying this Boltyn deck with those cards I've just listed is totally attainable within 6 months for most players who have the extra income to choose to play a trading card game. Okay. Again, thank you so much for watching. Hope that didn't get too serious near the end there. I know it took a definite tonal twist as soon as the card came up. But I do want to note, I did think it would help. This one is zeroed.